Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the series of Magic Domination. Here we're going to teach you how to dominate noobs. We're going to make them cry. We're going to make them wish they never played this game. And so we talked last time about the tutorial about how to get started and what cards do. And now we're going to go more into the meat and potatoes, which is a deck creation. And also how to actually play the game when it's in the actual game. So I'm going to show you a deck that I made, and we're going to go over why I made it that way and what it does, and a good deck to start with because it is a solo color, which means it is only one color. So you don't have to worry about multicolored land or a bunch of different things. It's pretty simple. It's straightforward, and it gets the job done, and it gets the job done quick. So the first card we're going to talk about that we put in the deck is Scorch Spitter. You'll see it right there. It's whenever a Scorch Spitter attacks, it deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker it's attacking. It is a 1/1 and it costs 1 mana. So that means every time you attack with it, it's going to deal the 1 damage. You'll see the 1/1. And then it's also going to deal another damage to the player due to its ability. The next card we have is Shock. And so, like I said in the last video, when we talked about damage, I like generalized damage because I want to be able to choose where that damage goes. If it goes to the player, or if it goes to the planeswalker, or it goes to the creature. So I think Shock's a good bang for your buck. It gives you 2 damage for 1 cost. So it's pretty mana efficient. The next one we're going to talk about is the 10th Street Dodger. So once again, it is a 1 cast. So it only costs 1 red mana. You see it up there, the fireball. And it has haste, and what haste is obviously, like I told you in the past one, if you look to the side of the card, it actually will tell you the description of the ability. So haste means as soon as you play this creature, you can attack. Normally when you summon a creature, it has summoning sickness and cannot attack till the next turn. Haste allows them to attack the turn they are summoned. And so if you pay a red mana, he can only be blocked by creature with defender. And see, it will also tell you what a defender creature has. It means a creature with defender cannot attack. So it's very unlikely that they're probably going to have creatures with defenders. I've never seen a lot of them played, and if they are played, they are not used very often. So this is a good card. This pretty much means it gets through whenever you pay the red mana for that ability to happen. Now this is the meat and potatoes. When you talk about decks, you want to have a sort of combo in mind. And so this is the driving force behind the combo of our deck. It's called Cavalcade of Calamity. And you're going to see a lot of these in the games you play. A lot of people play this deck. It's pretty popular right now. What it does is whenever a creature you control with 1 power or less attacks, Cavalcade of Calamity deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that the creature is attacking. So that means what this does is effectively every one of your creature now deals another damage that is not attacking damage. It is damage from the actual enchantment itself. So the point of our deck is to flood the field with a bunch of 1/1s, get a Cavalcade of Calamity, and attack in on them, and they are going to take damage not only from the attacks of the creatures if they can't block them, but from the actual enchantment itself. And if you have 4 of these up, that means every time you attack with your 1/1, the Cavalcade of Calamity is going to deal 4 direct damage to them. So in essence, it takes that 1/1 from being 1 damage effectively to them to actually being around 5 damage. And that's only if they can't stop the creature. If they could stop the creature, then it becomes 4. But we're going to go even further than that. We're going to show you another combo that goes exceptionally well with this. And we'll tell you about that as soon as we get to it. So the next card we have is Jaya's Greeting. This is a good card to deal directly with creatures. And what it does is it deals 3 damage to target creature, and it allows you to scry for 1. So not only are you getting a pretty beefy 3 damage for your 2 mana cost, but you are also getting the ability to see the next card that you're going to draw and decide if you want it or not. Now these are one of my favorites too. They are Runaway Steamkins. So whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 1/1 counters, you put a 1/1 counter on it. So And this is not just, when you see red spell, creatures are also considered spells, so remember that. So that means that this can become up to a 4/4 creature if you cast 3 red spells. Now, the beauty of this is you can also remove 3 1/1 counters from it, +1/+1, and you can add 3 mana. So not only does it act as a character that can kind of beef up over time, but you can then trade in that beefed up status and add more mana to your mana pool, allowing you to effectively play more spells. Now the next one is Bone Crusher Giant, and we talked about adventures, and this is probably one of my favorite adventure cards, because not only is it a burn spell where it can deal 2 damage, effectively becoming this spell right here, Shock, for 2 mana, but it is also a 4/3 creature that you can play. And when it becomes the target of spells or abilities, it deals 2 damage to whatever's trying to kill it. So it kind of acts as a pseudo burn spell to the player when they try and deal with it. And you can also use the 2 damage right off the bat to kill other creatures or damage the player themselves. Now the next we're going to talk about is one of those planeswalkers we talked about in the original tutorial video. And so I love Chandra. I think she's amazing. You'll see mythic versions of her, but I actually like this version the best. I think this is one of my favorite. So it has a 0 loyalty that puts a loyalty counter on her if you'd like. So it's actually pretty much a +1/+1, but it just doesn't do anything other than giving her a plus to her health pool. And now the second 0 is what we're focused on. Create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. They gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So in essence, for your 1 turn, you get to create 2 1/1s. That works really well with Cavalcade of Calamity and getting some 1/1s out. And they also, if they do not deal with this, then you keep pumping out cheap creatures to use on your turn. So they normally want to focus this down, and it can save your creatures or it can save you damage, but they have to focus on this. And now Krenko, another one of my favorites. Whenever Krenko, the Tin Street Kingpin, attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then create a number of 1/1 goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. So he pretty much buffs himself up, and every time he buffs himself up with a 1/1 counter, you put an additional goblin into play. You're going to start with 2, and then you're going to go to 3, and then 4. And before you know it, if they don't take care of Krenko pretty quickly, he can stack up some huge amount of goblin tokens. Legion War Boss is kind of a less beefy version of Krenko. Basically, he creates a 1/1 goblin every turn, but that goblin must attack. He does not have to attack, but they must attack. And when he attacks, he can mentor them, which means he can raise their stats by +1/+1. So he's really good for getting out small little creatures, and if they don't kill those creatures, then eventually he can stack up pretty heavily too. Scampering Scorchers. So this is another thing that creates more 1/1s. As you can see, there is a trend with this deck, a lot of 1/1 creatures. So when it enters the battlefield, it creates 2 other 1/1 creatures, and they all gain haste. So what that does is effectively this spell makes 3 1/1 creatures. Now, here's another part of the combo piece. Torbrand, Thane of the Redfell. So, if a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent that opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2. So that means every time they get hit with the Cavalcade of Calamity, instead of taking 1, they're taking 3. Whenever your creatures attack, it effectively adds 2 damage to their attack scores. So if they're a 1/1, they are now attacking for 3. So he is a very good card. We want him and the Cavalcade of Calamity in our starting hand if we can. And then 24 mountains. You want about 24 land for whatever you're playing. And you could split that up like if you are blue and black, you want to have maybe 10 blue lands and 14 black lands. You always want to have 24. 24 is a good number to be at. It's going to ensure that you don't get mana flooded a lot, and it's also going to ensure that you don't get mana screwed. So mana flood means all you're doing is drawing lands, and that can be a terrible game. And then mana screwed means that you're not drawing any lands, and so it really inhibits your ability to play creatures and spells when that happens. So you want to have the 24 just to make sure that you're keeping within the range of not getting screwed and not getting flooded. So now that we talked about that, we're actually going to play a game, because I think that's, like, we've talked enough. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes, the fun part of Magic, which is playing the game. And so we are going to play a standard. We're going to play the Bernie Sanders deck. And here's our first game, guys. So I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to let you know as things happen and what they're doing and what's going on. And we'll get some insight and go from there. I'm super excited. First game of the day. Hopefully I do pretty well. So I would say the hardest part of this game too is knowing when to play things and when not to play things, right? Like, you can play things as soon as you get the mana, but they might have spells and creatures to counter it. So it's kind of almost like a mind game a lot of times, is thinking about what they have and them thinking about what you have and kind of playing off each other. And here we go, we're starting our first match. So I'm on the left, my opponent's on the right, and hopefully we don't get mana screwed or mana flooded. So this is an alright hand. We're probably going to keep this hand because you normally want either 2 or 3 lands in your hand. Like, that's a good starting hand. And we do have our setup for some creatures. Krenko's a good thing to have, and the Scorch Spitter is good. So we're probably going to keep this hand. A lot of times I would want probably like a Cavalcade of Calamity in my hand to start with, but we'll just hopefully draw into it. So our creature comes down because we paid the 1 mana for it, and it has Summoning Sickness. And you'll see that by the black sort of cloud going around it, which means it can't attack this turn. So we have gotten our mana. Now see, you might be like, oh, well, I can play something. I can play the damage and deal the damage to him. But a lot of times you want to hold these spells until you see kind of what they're doing. So we're going to keep our mana untapped, so we have things to do. And now when you want to attack, you'll see this sort of blue arrow pointing forward. If you click it, that has your creature attacking. So our creature's going to attack, and you see the ability go off. When ability go off, it'll appear to the side. So not only does he take the ability damage, he also takes the creature damage. And now we pass it to our opponent. So it's now his turn, and we're going to see what he decides to do on his turn. And that's why you keep these lands here untapped as well, because we have Shock and Jaya's Greeting. So if he plays a cheap creature card that I'm worried about, I will have the ability to kill it on his turn, which will use my mana, but then on my turn, I get to untap or reuse my mana again. So a lot of times you want to conserve and try and wait till their turn to do something. So right now we're waiting on him. So he's going to pacify my creature. So like I said when we were talking about enchantments, he enchanted my creature. So we're going to let that happen. We really have no choice. And we're going to pass. But now we're going to play our next mountain, and we're going to play a Krenko. And now we're going to pass it to him, and it will be his turn. Hopefully he doesn't have another pacifism in his hand. Okay, so he is playing in a Johnny's Pridemate. So I could, in essence, attack him. And I'm going to attack him. But I could use my mana and I could play another creature spell, or I could play something else. But we're not going to do that, because we're going to take his Ajani's out on his turn, so that way we get to get our mana back. So we cast it pretty much for free, because we're playing it on his turn. So we're going to attack with Krenko. We're going to create the 1/1 tokens, and he's either going to block or he's not. And if he does block and he does something tricky, I'm just going to kill it. So we go next. See, he does not block, which I was pretty sure, because he doesn't want to lose this. He wants to gain life to beef this up. So that's his strategy. But now it's his turn. And as soon as we have the ability to, we are going to kill his creature. So he's never going to get that chance to see it beef up. So he is actually going to kill my creature, and in return, I'm going to do him a favor and kill his. So we're going to trade creatures for creatures. Now, I don't really need that mana, so this is Scry 1, and I'm good on the mana, so I'm going to put it on the bottom, and hopefully we draw into a Cavalcade of Calamity or something else. But he is going to kill my creature, and I kill his creature, so it's a 1-for-1 trade. And now we're going to pass, and now it comes back to my turn, and you see I spent the 2 mana on that burn spell. Whereas if I would have cast that on my turn, I would have not been able to use it now. Now see, I got that for free because I get my mana back. So I'm going to play the Krenko, and hopefully he doesn't have another one. And we're also going to, we'll actually hold this. We'll hold the mana just in case. And we are going to attack with our Goblin tokens. And we're going to end our turn. And now we're hoping that he does not have another sort of creature dispersal. Nope, he's playing Dawn of Hope. And so that's an enchantment. You see what it does? Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2, draw a card, and he can create 1/1 creatures. We're not really too worried about that. We are kind of getting mana flooded, so this is in essence mana flood, is when you keep drawing mana, you're like, I don't really want any more mana. But it's like, well, we don't care what you want. So I'm going to play Chandra's right now, and she's going to make even more 1/1 creatures. So he is trying to build up to probably something big, but he's kind of getting burned down right now. So I'm going to create the 2 1/1s. They last only for my turn, and then they go away. And then he is going to also create more goblins. So pretty soon he's going to start getting flooded with creatures, and he's going to have to start making decisions very quickly here. So we're going to damage. And this is how you shift the turn. So you'll see the turn has steps. And on the next turn, I'm going to show you every sort of step. I'm going to put stops. Oh, well, no, I guess I won't, because he gave up. So that was a good hand. That was a good game. That's normally how you want them to go in a very aggressive, fast burn style deck, is you want to go quick and you want to get them before they can kind of get their combos together. So we're going to play another one, and I'm going to show you every sort of phase of the match. So when you start, you have an upkeep, you have a draw phase, you have an attack phase, you have a main phase after your attack phase, and you have an end phase. And we're going to put stops on each of them so we can kind of talk about what each phase is and how to put stops in, because if you have certain cards, they will actually skip the phase unless you tell it to stop. So right now we have an alright hand. I mean, this is probably not my favorite. I may mulligan. So we're going to mulligan this and pray for a better one. This is alright. I mean, we'll take it. Is it a lot better? No. But it's better, sort of. I guess is the way to put that. So we'll skip the Chandras for one, and we'll keep the rest of it. We're hoping not to draw a bunch of mountains here. And there we go, we draw a mountain. So let's talk about it. So there is 4 phases. There is a stop, and that is on your upkeep. So your upkeep is when all your stuff untaps. And the draw is also in that phase, and it's when you draw a card. So you'll untap everything, you'll draw a card. Now the next stop is, or the next phase, is main phase. And so that's where you play your manas, you play your creature. And then after your main phase, you get a second main phase. And that's so if you attack or deal any damage or do anything like that, you can then cast stuff after all of that happens. So we're going to play our next mana. Okay. And now we're going to stop on each of these. So we have a combat phase. So right now is our combat phase. And we're going to move to that. So you see, you'll have an attack represented by the sword. And you can choose who attacks or if nobody attacks. And we're going to choose our attacking creature we want it to attack. Alright, now if he had a creature there, he could then block my creature, and that is this phase of it. Now after that phase happens, say he doesn't block, or he does decide who blocks, then we go to the damage, and the damage is when it happens. Alright, and so now the next one is our next main phase. We can cast spells again, do whatever we want, creatures, and then we go to our end phase. And so an end phase is just pretty much the end of the turn, but some cards will have things that happen on the end phase, like untap your lands during the end phase. And so right now he's going to play a Johnny's. And now I'm not going to let that stay around because that can become scary pretty quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to play our mana, and we are going to shock it. So we're going to shock it. It's going to deal 2 damage, and it's not going to stay around. All right, so now we're going to go to our combat phase, and you'll see the sword. So I'm going to attack again. Okay, and then it will be his turn to decide to block, which he doesn't have any blockers, so he has to just take it. And now we're to the damage, and the damage happens, and now we're at the end of our end phase again. And now we're just going to end the turn, and it goes to his turn. So we go pass, and it is now his turn. Now the reason I use shock and not the other one is because now I can use the shock on his turn, or the Jaya's Greeting on his turn. So he destroyed my creature, nothing I can really do. I'm going to play my mountain, and then I am going to play Legion Warboss, and then I'm also going to play the 10th Tree Dodger, because I really am not going to have the mana to use this on his turn, so I might as well be efficient with my mana and try and use as much as I can, and so I'm going to play the 10th Tree Dodger. So I put him on the field, and bam, now he creates a 1/1 token. But his 1/1 token has to attack every turn. But we're fine with that because we want to do that. So we're going to attack with both of our creatures. And now it becomes his turn. So on his turn, he's playing a mana. And now he Kaya'd Wrath. So he destroyed the entire field, which kind of sucks for us. But we're still okay because we have another Legion Warboss. So he is now going to create the 1/1 that can attack, and it is going to attack. And then it will be his turn. And so he is playing probably more of a control deck. He is trying to control us by destroying our creatures. And so it can be effective against our type of deck. We're going to see where it goes. We got the Cavalcade of Calamity. So now he's going to take 2 damage every time we attack. He's going to take 1 from the Cavalcade and 1 from the Goblin. And so that's kind of the goal here, is to... oh, see, now that's bad for us because he has flying and trample. So the 6/6 can kind of become a big problem. But this is kind of the beauty of burn, so to say, or red, is we're going to take care of that. So we're going to deal 3 damage to it. And then we're going to leave the Chandras because that's a good... We're okay with leaving that out there. And we're going to cast it again. And we're going to kill it. So he is not going to get to keep that around. So we did 3 damage and 3 damage. So we did the 6 needed to kill it. So we're going to attack. Deal 1 damage to him, and then 1 damage again because of the Cavalcade of Calamity. So now it's on to him. So he's playing Sorin, so now he has a Planeswalker. So you could tell his deck probably revolves mostly around gaining life and, like in a Johnny's, sort of a black and white deck. So he's going to deal damage to me, which I'm kind of fine with. I don't really care. He's kind of in trouble now because he's at 9, and we are going to use Chandra's ability to create 2 1/1s. So now, effectively, he's going to take 3 damage from the 1/1s and 3 damage from the Cavalcade. And so, I'm not really worried about his Planeswalker. I mean, he could do that, but we're going to try and kill him fast enough that that's not going to be an issue. I may regret this, but he is going to need to kill Chandra's and this, or he's in trouble, or he's dead effectively. He's going to have to gain life. So he is going to exile my Planeswalker, and it works, like I said, like the enchantment. If I can destroy the enchantment, I can get my Planeswalker back. But if I can't, then I can't. So he kind of put a stop on it for a second. We'll see. I mean, he might be able to come back from this, but right now it's not looking terribly good for him. This could make it better for him if we get mana flooded. We're going to try and hope that we don't get mana flooded here. He's obviously going to block, and I mean, it's the best I can do. Right now, I'm trying to kill his creatures. But this is what I'm talking about, mana flooded. So in essence, I've been drawing a lot of mana, and I really didn't want to do it, but I have no choice. So he's probably going to go in and attack now. Yep. So we're going to take 6. So now we're kind of put in a rough spot because we need to be able to finish him off, and I don't think we're going to be able to do it. So this one is chumming up to a loss, which kind of sucks, but that's the name of the game. That's what makes it fun. You win and you lose. So, yeah, I would say this is probably a loss right now because he's going to stack that at Johnny's Pride up, which we probably should have attacked the Planewalker, but we didn't. And so we kind of made a mistake. And that's what happens, though. It's fun. It's the strategy of it. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But definitely a good game by him. Oh, no, we can't do anything because it doesn't matter. He's gained too much life. His was all about life tap, and we were all about killing him quickly. So, unfortunately, we lost. We're just going to play it out to the end just for shits and giggles. But that was a good game by him. He did awesome. He did exactly what his deck wanted to do, which is gain life. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that. So we kind of stalled out what we wanted to do. And so, you know what, we'll probably not attack, and we'll see if we can hang in there with 1 life. We're going to leave these, so hopefully we can chump block, which means, okay, we lost anyways. He was able to deal the damage. But that was a good game. We almost had him defeated, and then he came back. But that's kind of the cool thing about this game is, like, you're never out, so don't give up, because you never know. You might be that 1 card away from pulling through and winning. So we're going to play another game again. That was a lot of fun. He had a really cool deck. Like I said, it took a while to get out, and we really didn't get our combo off the way we would have wanted to. But it was still a good deck on his part. All right, bless us with the better hand, please. You know, I kind of like this hand and I kind of don't, but we're going to keep it for the sake of keeping it. So we really don't have a first turn play, but we do have Cavalcade of Calamity, which is kind of where you want to be with this deck. You want to be able to have that enchantment, because that enchantment is kind of the meat and potatoes, so to say, of the deck. And so even though we don't have a first or second turn, we do have a nice third turn play. So we're going to play Cavalcade of Calamity and the Chandras, and we're going to start getting this going. Oh, I guess he saw the writing on the wall and wanted no part of it. So you have some people that when they see the combo that you're coming up with, they'll instantly forfeit because they're like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to do that. And so we got an easy win. You can never complain about easy wins. We'll take them. So we're going to play another one. Hopefully we get somebody that doesn't instantly dump. But just letting you know, yeah, it's a super fun game. I would say it's kind of an underrated game, like in terms of like card games. I would put this well above Hearthstone. I mean, Hearthstone, I played that for a few, and it was kind of dry. Like I like that they make things easier for people to play, but I also like depth to my game, and I feel like this definitely has a lot more depth than Hearthstone. Hearthstone is kind of just very straightforward. So we didn't draw our Cavalcade of Calamity, but we didn't want to dump this one either. So we at least got a Scorch Spitter to play on the first turn. And we do have some first and second turn plays to do, so it's not a terrible thing. We're hoping not to get mana screwed. Okay, so now he's going to get to choose something out of my hand that I have to get rid of. So it's kind of a sad thing. No, not shock. So that goes bye-bye. At least we drew something else besides lands. And so now we're going to attack with the Scorch Spectre. So we're going to deal 2 damage to him. And hopefully he does not have any small or any big creatures to play right now. We're hoping that we can maybe survive long enough to see our Cavalcade of Calamity. He looks to be playing probably like an Is It sort of deck, so he's definitely playing a lot of colors, because he's got red and blue lands and a black land, so he's playing 3, so he's drowned in the lock, so he's going to destroy one of our creatures. We're okay with that. I'm not too worried about it. We're going to play Chandra's, get her out, and so we could start at least pressuring him to do something other than that sort of burn tactic, or the get rid of card tactic. We'll see what happens here. Next turn we do have a Gyrus, so if he does play a lower health creature, we will be able to take care of it, and then kind of see what our card is and draw it from there. Yeah, see, so this right here. Like, I don't want this guy hanging around. He's flying, I can't really deal with him. And, I mean, he does get to draw the card regardless, but I just don't like it. So he is now using, these sort of land cards allow him to look through his deck and grab a land he wants. So that's pretty effective. We're going to go ahead and get rid of it on my turn, because I really don't have anything to play outside of that. We definitely don't want the mountains. It seems like we're getting a little bit of mana flooded again. So we're going to play our Tin Street Dodger, our other 1/1. We're going to create the elementals, and we're going to go all in. We're going to try and really pressure him. Start getting our damage out, and then we're going to pass the turn. And now we're praying to the lords above that we don't get another mountain guard. I mean, this just gets brutal. Oh, so this kind of sucks. So it's probably going to wipe, yeah, it's going to wipe the board, and he puts out a 2/2. I mean, it is what it is. Nothing I can really do about it. Cavalcade of Calamity, kind of what we want to see. It would have been nice to see some other things along with it, but we don't have that choice. So we're just going to go in with the Cavalcade of Calamity, and we're going to see if he blocks. He's probably going to block one, and he's going to let the other one go through. Yeah. And we're going to end the turn. If we keep this card in our hand, it's mostly like a mind game sort of thing. I want him to think I have something, so he might think twice about playing something. When really, I'm mana flooded right now. I'm just getting more mountains than I would like to see. So it's his turn. He's going to attack. He's going to deal the 2 damage to the Chandra. I really don't have a choice. And now it's my turn. Now we're kind of in a better position, because we now have the Chandras out, and we have a Torbran that can definitely block him, and he's going to double the damage dealt to him. So, and he's going to deal the damage dealt to the creature too. So see, he is in a world of trouble, and that is the combo we wanted to see right there. So let's go over what happened. I can click to continue, but we'll keep it at the victory screen for a second. So Torbran doubles the damage of any red source, and the creatures, when they attack, that's a red source. The Cavalcade of Calamity, when it goes off as a source. So instead of taking the 1 damage, he is now effectively taking 3 damage per one of my creature attacks because of the Cavalcade of Calamity. And now, instead of dealing just 1 attack damage, they are now also dealing 3 attack damage. So, like I said, Torbran, Cavalcade of Calamity, small beaters, very good deck. So that's kind of the video. I don't want to make it too long. We played 3 good games. We lost 1, and we won some. So, like I said, when you make decks, you want to have a sort of a goal in mind. Like if you want big creatures, then you want to make sure you're focusing on that. If you have small creatures, by dealing damage with a certain spell, you want to have a deck set up for that. So they all, when you make a deck, you want to have synergy. You just don't want to put a bunch of mythics in your deck and think, oh, well, that makes the deck. When a lot of times the uncommons and commons are the major players of your deck, and the mythics and rares kind of support it. We're going to open a pack for you guys now. Oh, I already had them, so I get 20 gems. Nothing interesting. But so you just want to make sure your deck focuses around a sort of goal in mind. And you just don't want to put the highest attack creature cards in there, and you don't want to just, you want to have a goal in mind. Every deck should have something that you're trying to do, and you should make sure that it all follows the sort of a goal in mind. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe, guys. I appreciate all your love, and we will see you in the next episode.